We are going to be looking at forms in this video. So where you've filled in forms online before, there's many of them, and I'm sure you've come across them quite often. They're where you've got logins. These are forms where you've got sign up sheets, newsletters, contact forms, and many, many more. These are all created with forms in HTML. So we're going to get started. I've just got my Visual Studio open and I've created a folder called forms, and I've got an HTML document open which I've called forms.html, and then I've got my basic starting program there. And then because I'm using Open Live Server, I've opened it, and my form or my browser is to the right, and I've given it a title, and you can see it's got HTML forms in that title. At the top everything is blank because we haven't created anything. So there is a forms tag, so you place your form in the forms tag. There's an opening and closing tag. Just going to move that down a bit to fit some stuff in. Okay, so the first thing we're going to create in this form is a text box where you can put your name in. Okay, so we do this by, because we want to get input, we use the input tab, and as I said, it's text we want, so we're at the type of text using the type attribute. So if we run that, we then get this box. To set the default size, so with CSS you can change this, but if I type in here, there you go, you type it in. Nothing else happens at the moment because we haven't got nothing else set up, but obviously we need to have some kind of label, and to do that we come just above where we've got this input and we actually use the label tag. So as in most documents you have a first name and then the surname, and we're going to do similar here. So we're going to do first name inside the label, and if I save that, so there we have first name, which you can type in there, and we're going to go ahead. So we need to create another label, and we're going to put surname. And then we need the actual input section, type of text again. So if I save that, there you've got first name, and then it's asking for your surname. Just to tidy this up a little bit, I'm going to put a couple of line breaks in there. So I'm going to change that actually, not to surname. We normally see last name. Yeah, it's looking a bit better. So there you can see we've started creating a form, and you can put your first name in, and you can put a last name in, and you can have as many of these going down your form depending on what you want to ask. But you haven't always got to use these text sections. A lot of stuff you can get by using these, but there are some other things out there which we'll do now. But before we carry on any further, I just want to show something else. I'll just come just inside my form here, and I'm going to use the legend tab, and I'm going to Okay, if I save that. So what this does, it puts a title for our form really. So questionnaire for new students. But what I'm also going to do, just to make it look a bit more structured, I'm going to use the field set start and end tag. And if we just cut that, I start at the bottom and then just indent. Okay, and if I save that, you then get this box, so it looks more like a form. And then the title, the legend, will actually go inside the box itself, so it looks like a tab around the box. So that just looks a bit neater. So we've got our box for our form, and we've got the title of our form, which is questionnaire for students, and then we've got 2 pieces of information using text boxes and 2 labels. So far so good. So let's move on. So let's say I want to ask the question, and what I want to do before we move on, I'm just going to group this up a little bit more. So after the legend, I'm going to come in with a H2 header, and this first bit, so the first bit I'm going to label as personal information, and then I'm going to, after that section, I want to do in that section, what is your favourite language? Now instead of doing a text box and open, I put something that is correct to what we're asking. We can also use something else, and we can give them options and they have to click on one of them. So what we're going to do, we're going to use a different type of input now. So we still use the input tab, but the type we're going to use is now radio, and we use that to dupe. So let's just copy that a couple of times. So we've got input and then the type of radio, and then we've got the name attribute, and then we've called it favlang, and we've done that on all 3. So this groups these 3 together now, so that it will only let one of them be selected. So you have to have the names the same to be able to make this work as we want it to. So if I save that, so there we've got our 3 buttons, and if I just click the one and then click the others, it'll only let us choose one, and that's because we've named them the same. So that's how that will work. But obviously we need some labels to go with this to see what we're actually selecting. So we obviously want the label after, so if we come after and put in a label, so let's just put basic for that label. What enjoy doing C++ more? We might enjoy Java. You can make this list a lot longer, but I'm just going to stick with 3 to now. So if you enjoy Java, you take that one, C or basic, and it just lets you select one. And to make this look, because I want the list to come down, after the labels, I want to stick a break in. just to make it come down the screen. So there you go. Then you can select which flavor. You can select which language you prefer. So that's another way of making sure that they select something that you want information back. So they can only select one of these, and these obviously what you want to know. If you're using a text box for this, they might put something that doesn't really matter. You might not want to know about that language or whatever. But this narrows down their choices a bit more. So that is the radio buttons. So our form is starting to take shape. Now we're going to create a hardware checklist, okay, to see what the students have got. So we're going to use H2 header again. And we're going to do hardware checklist. No more titles. I like to capitalise the letters a bit. I just think it looks a bit better. Obviously you can do yours. It's not an important bit. The new students, right? That's better. So I've got my hardware checklist header there. So again we're going to use the input tag, and this time we are going to use type, and we're going to do a checkbox. Okay, so I can save that, and there's your box which you can click. And if I just create, I'll put 4 more of these in. And save that. So then you've got the 4. But this is a bit different to the radio. You can actually select one or all of the boxes. So the difference between the radio and this one, that you can choose more than the one. So you can select as many as you like. So this is a bit more handier when you want to get more than one answer to what you're wanting. So we've created those. Again, I want them on the left. So we're going to create the labels for them. So I want to ask what the students have got, what sort of hardware. Keep hitting that caps lock. So I want to know if they've got a mouse. I want to know if they've got a video camera. As part of your course, you might be doing, like, you might want to do some videos where you can interact with the students. So things like Skype. So you've got one-to-one chats, but you need to know they've got the right equipment to have it. So this might be why we're asking these questions. Well, if they've got a monitor, not a lot they can do, is there? So let's save those. So let's put those in. But again, they're going across the screen. I want them to, I think it's needed to go down. So after each label, we need to add the break tab, which brings it down to a new line. And there you go. So students filling this in. So, oh yes, I've got a mouse. I've got a microphone, I've got a monitor, but I don't have a video camera. So that's another way of getting information. So you can see already this is quite to look like a nice form anyway. With CSS again, you can style this up, make it even better, but just on its own, it's not too bad. So you can have a play around with this, do your own forms when we finish this video and see what sort of forms you can come up with. It's good practice as well. So that's done the hardware section. Let's open the H2. header. So I'm asking, what would you like to learn next? This one is going to be a drop-down list. So another way to get information. So we need to use the select tag and contain our list inside here. So let's put some options in. So we use the option tag to put the options in. So let's say option, first option is I want to learn HTML. And then the next option, let's do CSS. And then we'll do JavaScript. Or they might want to go on to some back-end stuff, so let's put PHP in. Oh. MySQL, which is obviously a database. Or they might want to use it and come in Python. So there's our list. So to create a list, you use the select tab, and then inside that you have to create your options for your list. So we use the option tag, and then in its content we place what we want to have in our list. So if we save that, so here it will have the first one by default, but if we click on this arrow, it then will list the 6 options we've put in as it's shown here, and then you go to select one, and then it will appear in the main bar as your selected item. Now we can take this list one step forward. So obviously we created this deliberately because we've got our front end languages and we've got our back end languages. So we can actually separate these up. So within our select option or tag, we can create, we're going to use opt group, and then we're going to give it a label. We can give it front end, and then we'll take the end tag, cut it out, and then after our last option for front end, we then need to close the option group. Okay, so let me just indent that a bit, bring that back. So we use the tab opt group, and that creates a group. So inside this group we can place our options, and then what it will do, it will label this group of options as front end, and then we use the label attribute inside the opt group to label that section. So if I just save that and come across, so when I click on the arrow, you can see that it's labelled front end and it's placed HTML, CSS, JavaScript within that section. And obviously we can do the same for our back end subjects. So again, we just need to place them inside the group top tag. And then we need to use the label attribute inside the opt group, and then we can then put backend and save that. So when we come to our browser and click the arrow, we can now clearly say that front end and back end are 2 sections, and then it's got our options in the front end section as HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and it's saying in back end we've got PHP, SQL and Python. So I'm going to select Python. So that's another way how to get information. So you can see there's quite a few ways so far how to get information. So we're going to come down and do the next section. So this next section is similar to the drop down list, but a bit different. So we're now going to be asking what's your favourite browser. So I'm going to create a label tag. And we're going to say choose browser. And then we're going to use the input tag. And then we're going to say in the input tag we need to use the list which equals browsers. So then we need to create a data list. So we use the data list tag and we give that the ID and we're going to call that browsers. So that's then called it here for the list of the input. So to create our list we use the data list tag and then use the attribute ID and then the name of the list is browsers. Oop. And then we need to create our list with inside the data list content, and again we use the option. So then we use attribute value and then we create our list. So we're going to put Edge, Firefox, and Popular Chrome, forgot the closing tags, Opera, and then we're just going to use Safari. So if we save that, I'll just come over up to Firefox, Chrome, Opera, Safari, but obviously we haven't got this quite as we want it. So after so things aren't quite working as they're supposed to. Oh yes, okay. So here I haven't closed this select option with our front end and back end options in. So if I now save that, obviously it's coming up. So we've got our previous one, and then we've got our favourite browser, and then choose browser. Click the arrow to choose one, or you can actually start typing, and then so that's the difference between this one. You can actually start typing within this one. So let's say I was trying to type Chrome, and then the option will come up for me to choose. So I can type or choose it from the list. So there is another way how to get some options. And then the next one, which is the last one we're going to do. So the next one we're going to do is going to add a couple of breaks here. Just shift that down a bit. And then the last one we're going to end up now doing. So let's give it a label, and let's do. Here you see there's a lot of additional information. And then we're going to use the text area. So we're going to create a box where you can type some text, and then we can use the attributes. So let's use rows equals 4. So let's give that a save. And you can see we've got this information, this box. So this is where you can start typing information. Now we obviously said it had rows of 4, which it does. So let's just see what the default is by just getting rid of that. So it's only 2 rows, but obviously you can resize it. But say we want to give it some default settings, so using the rows attribute we can say 4, and let's say we want to give it some more columns, so let's use the cols attribute and set it to 50. So there you go. So it obviously, the columns as a cross, that's made it a lot bigger. And then what I want to do, just put a break there so that appears below additional information. So you see these on a lot of vendor forms, the last bit of information. Or is there anything else you need to let us know, etc. So there we've created quite an interesting form so far. We've contained it within the field set tag, give it a title, and then we've used different input types. So play around with that and you can create your own forms to have a practice. Now there are things that appear at the end of forms, obviously submit, click me, buttons. Now we're not going to go into the back end side of this where this form gets distributed somewhere. This is just creating the HTML side of it. But obviously we still need to create the buttons within HTML. And then as you go into other backend languages or even JavaScript, you can then reenact with this form, and then when someone clicks the submit or click me button or send button, it will then do something with this information within this form. But that's for another day. So let's now round off and come outside the field set. And then first thing we're actually going to create an input, and we're going to give it a type of submit. Okay, so if I save that, so that creates an input type submit, which is basically a submit button. So it can be clicked, but it won't do anything because we haven't done no code behind it. And then another button you see also, and then you can just say type button, which is just an empty button, but back inside that input tag you can then also give it a value and then call it whatever you like. We'll just say click me. Save that, and there you can see we've got a click me button which is clickable but won't do anything obviously at this stage. So that's the HTML side of creating a form, and then the buttons to submit it. So have a play with that, see what you can come up with. Create some nice forms, I'm sure, bit of practice. Using also the skills you've used already. Okay, but there is actually a tag called button to do this job. So instead of using the input, we can use the button. Now the button has an opening and closing tag. So the click me can go in the content. So we don't need the value. We save that, it's done exactly the same. It doesn't do anything yet because we need to add it to some JavaScript. But you can use the button tag to do the buttons, which is a better way of doing it. So from now on, you'd want to do buttons using the actual button tag element. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If I could ask a favour to help support this new channel, that you hit that subscribe button and then select all on the bell for future videos that are coming out. And then I'd appreciate if you also hit the like button. This will help the channel grow, and then I shall carry on doing videos, as I know they're being watched and appreciated. And then can you also check out the website that I'm just briefly going to show you. So this is the website that I've created to help with this course. You obviously see it's BF Creations. Down in the download section, you'll see that there are some download sheets. And simply for each one, you just click on the download and it will appear up in the corner, and it will download to your PC or laptop or whatever you're using. So I hope these are helpful. Leave comments in the videos as well, so I can make improvements. Tell me what you think. Hope it's all been easy to follow, and I appreciate it. Thanks for watching this video, and I shall see you in the next one. On this course, they are released every Tuesday evening, so hopefully you'll follow along, and clicking that bell will help get notifications of that. So thank you very much, and thank you for watching.